make a move in the ring. You can hit me with the words you fling.
Welcome back, everybody. It's Nick Atkin on the South China Morning Post. This is scmp.com/MMA. And I got a very special guest again today. Mr. Chatri is back. Chatri Sityodtong, the chairman of One Championship. Chatri, how's everything going in Singapore?
Amazingly well. I mean, obviously it's still, the borders are still shut in Singapore. And we've been very fortunate to work with the Singapore government. And basically we're the only company that has green lane access, special access where our athletes don't have to have any quarantine. Obviously I have a lot of COVID protocol, COVID testing and stuff like that, but super grateful to the Singapore government for leading the way, basically leading Asia in terms of all international events, whether it's music, entertainment, or sports, basically. So it's been phenomenal. I can't say enough about Singapore government and what they've done and allowed us to come back. And so this is just the beginning. I mean, October 9th was obviously our first global event return. We came back with events back in June in China, July, August, September in Thailand, and now October in Singapore. And, October 9th went super well. Didn't have any issues. We stuck with all the protocols of social distancing, all the COVID protocols, and all the athletes really followed all the rules and processes that we laid out. And so it was a great event, October 9th, and now a huge event next week.
Yeah, and you just announced today there's going to be 250 fans in attendance. You're selling tickets, super fan tickets. That's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, again, I got to give a lot of respect and props to the Singapore government. It was actually their idea. So they approached us and said, hey, what about the idea of opening to fans and, trial this? And so they came up with I think it was a 15-minute test, if I'm not mistaken, for COVID. And they wanted to test it in a real environment. And so we're having this, super fan safe zone, in the stadium, and everyone's going to get tested while they come in. They pass the test and they enter the stadium. So if that works, then obviously it leads to many other things. And like I said, I'm very fortunate for the support and the partnership of the Singapore government across, all the different agencies of the Singapore government. So it's the Ministry of Health, Singapore Tourism Board, Economic Development Board, the IMDA, which is a media authority. It's just a collective effort across all the different ministries in the government.
Yeah, I've got to ask, might be a bit selfish of me, but maybe we might see the return of some media, maybe Hong Kong having a green lane with Singapore. Can you get me over there sometime?
Definitely would love to have you, Nick. Super grateful for all of your contributions to growing, mixed martial arts and martial arts in general here in the region and paving the way for, athletes to have a voice, but also fans to have a place where they could come and read all the great stuff you're doing and watch all your videos. So super grateful, man. So definitely, yes. If we open up to the media, come on over.
Yeah, it's a little bit too soon, I think, this show. It might be possible later on in the year if you guys are having any more shows there live. But yeah, let's talk about this huge show, the October 30th, the Inside the Matrix, 4 title fights. I'm going to put you on the spot. Which one are you looking forward to most?
Yeah, I was asked that earlier in a media scrum earlier this afternoon. And I have to say, this is a really spectacular card because not only is it 4 world title fights, but if you look at the champions record and percentage of finish rate, and if you look at the challengers finish rate percentage as well, I mean, these are just astronomical numbers, right? I mean, Yuri Lapicus, 14-0, all finishes. Tan Lei, René Ridier, 12-0, 11 finishes. Tan Lei, same thing, but then on the same time, on the champion side, Ong La has 24 finishes in his career. People don't realize he comes to finish. And obviously Christian Lee is a finisher. And obviously Martin Nguyen is a finisher. And Panda and Tiffany. So it's just like an incredibly stacked card. I wrote on my social media, don't blink. And I really mean it, man. This is the kind of event that you got to be at the edge of your seat. Have the popcorn ready, but don't blink because So I would give the most exciting fight, the one I'm really curious to know. Actually, I would say it's Martin Nguyen versus Tan Le, because they both have KO power. They're both strikers, and they're both coming, and they're both predicting knockouts. So this is going to be, I think 1 or 2 rounds and it'll be over.
I don't know if you can confirm something for me, but I spoke to Gary Tonin yesterday, and he said he's going to be fighting Kiyomi Matsushima next. And is that going to be for the #1 contender spot for the next shot at the featherweight title?
I don't know if we've formally announced who Gary is fighting next or who Kiyomi is fighting next. But definitely Gary is up there. I mean, obviously Kiyomi fought for the title, and if Gary, does face him and beats him, then obviously he would be, in the running for a world title shot. So yeah, I mean, maybe Gary let cat out of the bag, but I'm not going to confirm or deny it yet.
I had to ask. Well, I want to also get your what was the motivation behind the theme, the Matrix theme? Are you just a huge fan of those films? I love the poster that you got mocked up with you as Morpheus. Yeah.
This wasn't planned. I think one of our social media guys or something saw something on the internet and just put it together, something like that. It's just kind of hilarious. It was meant to be as a joke. It wasn't the official poster, obviously, but anyways, we had a little bit of fun with it. Inside the Matrix, basically, we are living in some kind of weird alternate universe right now with COVID, right? And so as my team was thinking about names and they came up with the Matrix and variations of it. And, UFC has Fight Island. We have the Matrix here in Singapore. So, welcome to Inside the Matrix. And we're kicking it off with 4 world title fights.
Yeah, you mentioned Fight Island there. UFC has kind of gone between Fight Island and its Apex home in Vegas. Are you looking to set up shop in Singapore for a while? You obviously had that first show. You mentioned Reign of Dynasties, which went great. Love the show. Reese McLaren, big win there. Sam A retaining his title. Are you looking to stay there for the foreseeable future? You mentioned to me last time maybe you might look into getting some international events in other cities you've been to before, like Manila.
Yeah, no, definitely. We are in discussions, deep, late-stage discussions with a few governments, and we hope to making some announcements. So, yes, Singapore's our first bubble, but obviously we did do events in Thailand as well. But we have good relations with many governments across Asia and around the world. And so I think you're going to see more, international bubbles that we form as we are able to close some partnerships with governments.
And talking of Manila, we got the Team Lakai guys are here. Edward Flying is fighting as well. That's a huge fight, isn't it, against Antonio Caruso? We spoke to Antonio on the show earlier, and he said it's like the young lion against the old lion in the Lion City. A lot of lions going on. Do you see this as a huge kind of make or break fight for Edward? Because, I think he's 1-3 in his last 4. He lost to Eddie. Then he got that win back against Amasu, I think it was. But then he lost to Peter Baust. How important is this for Edward's career and being a challenger?
Yeah, a lot of naysayers and doubters and haters have called the end of Edward Falang's career many times in the past. But the reality is when you look at, how he lost and who he lost to, Eddie Alvarez, he was winning by a large margin before he made an error with Eddie Alvarez. Peter Baust, he was winning before he got clipped. So, when you look at his last few fights, it was razor close and literally could have gone either way, right? But ultimately, when you look at his skills and you look at his determination and his fitness levels, I would argue he's still very much in his prime. When I talk to Mark Sangiao, he says, Edward has never looked better. And his hunger and his fire is there, right? Edward really, really wants to challenge for the world title one more time before he retires. And, I don't blame him. I mean, again, he's obviously he's a legend in the Philippines. And I think he deserved it. But at the same time, Antonio Caruso is no walk in the park. I agree with Antonio. This is a young lion versus an old lion. The question is a young lion ready to take that big step up? And the other question is, how old is the old lion? Is the old lion still in his prime, or is the old lion on the decline? These are the kind of big questions that are going to be answered on Friday, right? And so that's why we made the matchup. We thought, this is Antonio's chance to break out if he wins, especially if he wins impressively. This is Edward's chance to prove that he's still a mainstay contender in the division by stopping a young lion. So I don't think the fight's going to go the distance either. I think this one is going to end probably in the second or third round. If I have to predict, they're probably one round of feeling out process, but then they're going to go, both these guys like to bang. So it's going to be a fun fight.
Yeah, you talk about a breakout star. We got Ritu Phogat is the first fight of the night, I think. Is this potentially a platform for her to really announce herself to the MMA world? I think this is her biggest moment, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, no, definitely. This is definitely the biggest moment of her career, her young career. Her fight's going to be broadcast live in India just right before the IPL. And so, and Star Sports, who's our partner there, is obviously the largest broadcaster in India, is throwing its entire weight behind Ritu. And obviously Ritu comes from a very decorated wrestling family. Dongal, the movie was done on her family. And that's still the most successful box office movie in Bollywood history. But also I think it was number 2 or number 3, something like that, in China as well as a foreign film. So, her father has produced many world champions, and obviously 3 incredible daughters who are incredible wrestlers. A world champion wrestler, and Ritu is. And so the question is, can she pick up all the MMA skills and apply them against a Kun Khmer world champion? It's no secret that Shrey is really good on the feet, heavy hands. But it's a classic striker versus grappler. But they're both very early in their careers. But we just thought it would be a fun fight to put on for everybody.
I can't wait to see it. You mentioned Eddie Alvarez there, so I wanted to go back to him because, last time we spoke, you said Eddie's maybe 1 or 2 wins away from maybe getting that title shot. I think he got wind of what we were saying, and he said, I think I'm ready for a title shot now. Have you got any update on when Eddie's coming back and when DJ's coming back? Are you able to get them out to Singapore or what?
Eddie's going to be coming back early next year. We've already set a date and a card for him already. So, and now just finalizing his opponent. So it's most likely going to be Eddie Alvarez versus Dagi. But we've, I think Matt Hume is giving out offers to both of them. And so just trying to finalize things.
Is that maybe number 1 contender on the line there?
Well, Dagi, lost to Christian Lee, right, in the World Grand Prix final. And I think everyone was expecting Dagi to steamroll Christian. I think that was Dagi was just relentless, killing everybody in the division and a scary guy. But actually, he's a really, really nice guy. Dagi is such a nice guy outside the cage. Real gentleman. He just got married. I have a lot of love and respect for him, and I love his fighting style. But Christian won that fight, and so I think it's an important fight for Dagi, to face an Eddie Alvarez. But again, the fight hasn't been made yet, but it's been offered. So let's see if both sides agree. But yes, I'd love to have Eddie back, early next year. And then we just cycle through because the COVID thing being down 3 or 4 months, really put a backlog of fights and fights that we'd already had booked, right? And so we've got to cycle through all that first, and then we can get to all these other fights. So, it is what it is. I think COVID has impacted, all sports properties around the world, and we're just kind of having to adapt, And so DJ has also been offered for early next year as well. DJ versus Adriano early next year.
We need to see that one.
Yes.
It's been in the pipeline.
Be a good fight.
Are these both going to be in Asia? Because I know there was some talk maybe of a US show. Are they going to be coming over to this part of the world?
Yeah, that's the plan right now. But again, a few things are in the works, but we were definitely planning to throw a US show this year, but obviously COVID happened. And so we put that on the back burner, but we are in active discussions with our broadcast partner, Turner. So, anything can happen right now. I mean, I'll just say that we're talking to many different parties in many different countries, a lot of moving parts, and we're at the tail end of some of the discussions, and some interesting things could happen.
Is the passport thing an issue with coming from America, with like US-born citizens? Is that anything that's holding up Eddie and DJ coming over? I'm trying to figure it out myself.
No, it's literally like, we want to be fair to everybody and cycle through all the different fights. Okay. And some fighters were injured and this and the other. So it's a juggling act, and then also trying to figure out this whole COVID thing, right? Is really and October 9th was a very big test, because obviously the government entrusted me and my team to lead the way for all international events out of Singapore, again, music, entertainment, or sports. And so we were setting the blueprint for all the process. And there was no margin for error. Behind the scenes, I think the fans can see all the glitz and glamour, but behind the scenes, we were sweating bullets, going through everything. We had security guards every single floor of the hotel. So the athletes could not leave. We were just making sure everything was going to be, smooth sailing. And then in the stadium, we had all these zones in which, people just, you could have 30 people in a particular zone at a time. We're used to having typically 150 people, our staff at the stadium operating our show, right? And here we had to do 30. So it was very tough, man. We on the outside it looked easy, but I'm telling you, it was very hard, very, very hard stuff. And so October 30th, same thing. I'm hoping everything goes well, but right now a bunch of athletes just arrived. Angla just messaged me. He arrived this afternoon, getting his PCR test, and he'll have his results, I think, tomorrow morning. And, I'm hoping, knocking on wood, that all these guys are COVID-free. If not, obviously, then there are some fights at risk.
Are there any backup options you've got?
Yeah. We have plenty of backup options. So, yeah.
Oh, well, I also wanted to talk to you about, since the last time I spoke to you, there's been a huge, let's say, a bit of drama with the Atomweight division. Angela she revealed she's pregnant, and then you announced an Atomweight Grand Prix, and then everything just went off. Denice Denice calling for Angela to vacate the belt. Angela hit back at Denice on social media. You said you're not going to make Angela vacate the belt.
Yeah.
Just talk us through that was a crazy week, wasn't it?
Yeah. But I don't mind that, because their spat was real, and they both had their own logical arguments for why. And I think they kept it at the sport level, right? There was no insults to religion or race or family or, things that I would say cross the line. I think if athletes argue over, who deserves what and who's better and who's going to get to be finished, I think those are all fair grounds for if you have real beef with somebody, like Bibiano and Kevin Bellingham had real beef, and they really, really dislike each other. But they didn't cross the line when it comes to behaving as a professional athlete, behaving as a martial artist. But again, there was a lot of animosity, nasty things being said. Same thing with Denice and Angela. And look, in the history of one championship, we've never stripped a world champion ever. And I really believe that a world champion should remain world champion unless a few things happen, right? I mean, if a world champion is caught cheating, if a world champion does something illegal, something unbecoming, and then obviously we would strip them, but or retire. But Angela Lee is still the best atomweight in the world, and I think it would have sent the wrong signal, because a woman is pregnant and therefore we strip her. We thought deeply about it and had a deep discussion, and we just felt it was the wrong thing. I mean, Angela Lee is the best atomweight in the world, and just because she's pregnant is not a reason for us to strip anybody or force anyone to vacate. And then, Angela, committed to defending her title in November of next year. And so when we said, okay, November, we could do an interim title, or we could do a World Grand Prix, which would be very, very exciting because we have some names that we haven't even announced that are on our roster. I think it will be the world's greatest atomweight Grand Prix in history when we announce it. Some real killers, incredible martial artists. And whoever wins that can definitely lay claim to being, one of the best pound for pound females on the planet of any organization. And of course they face Angela, and that will be for all the marbles. And, it creates more drama, right? It's more excitement for fans, this whole storyline, right? So, and if it ends up being Denice winning, you got to imagine that fight has already been built up, right? People are going to want, because there is real, there's real spiciness between the two. There's real, I wouldn't say go far as say it's real bad blood, but they both want to, prove each other wrong, and they want to make a statement.
Yeah, it always makes things more interesting for me. But do you think Denice has maybe? Is it fair to say she's unlucky because she seemed to have a title shot lined up before Angela became pregnant? Now she's potentially got to go and win 3 more fights to get another shot. Do you see her side of this?
Of course, that's what I see both sides, right? But at the same time, when you look at Denice's record, we're actually offering Denice Stamp Fairtex before the Angela discussions were happening, and that fight didn't pan out. But we'd love to see Denice versus Stamp as an example, right? They're former teammates. And Stamp is also a young rising star. I would characterize Denice as a young rising star. I don't think she's proven herself yet fully. Now, could she have earned? Did she get a title shot? When she beat Mei Yamaguchi, and then her next opponent. Yeah, but at the same time, these things happen, right? It just happens, and sometimes it's an injury, sometimes it's timing, sometimes it's whatever it is, right? So if you are the best in the world, you will get to prove it no matter what. Whether it's a Grand Prix, whether it's an interim title shot, or whether it's a real title shot, and it might be all 3. I still haven't ruled out an interim title shot. So that's still a real possibility. And again, I should be announcing the Atomweight World Grand Prix quite soon. Definitely, I think probably by the end of November. But in the next few weeks, I'm going to be announcing it because we're just trying to wrap up one more amazing female atomweight that we're trying to sign, or in the process of signing. If we sign her, then we'll make the big announcement of who the ladies are.
Yeah, I want to ask you, you probably might not be able to say anything to me, but Rizin announced that Ham Shohei, she's vacated her super atomweight belt and is heading to 1. It's not been confirmed by you guys, but it looks like she's heading over there. Can you say anything on that?
I think you just have to wait till our announcement for the Atomweight Grand Prix. We have, I did hear Sakakibara was upset. We have not made a statement. I have not made a statement either about what he was saying. So, I'll just leave it at that. But thanks for asking, Nick.
Sorry. Well, someone else who wants to be in this, I promised her I'd ask you because we spoke to her today, Killer B. She's just pleading her case to be in this Grand Prix. She says you've been sliding into your DMs all month asking for a shot. You going to give her a shot? Who's going to be in it? Like the top 5, I'm imagining, are shoo-ins, but then that leaves a few slots open, right?
Like I said, some of the female atomweights have not been announced at all. People don't even know they're on our roster. And so I think people are being very pleasantly surprised. Like I said, I genuinely believe it's going to be the greatest atomweight World Grand Prix ever done. If you just look at the caliber, and again, if we sign this one girl we're trying to sign, then man, it's going to be it's going to be a really stacked World Grand Prix. So as for B, I really like her. I like her spirit, her fighting spirit, and technically, she looks really beautiful. I mean, when you watch her hit the pads or hit the bag, I mean, she's just technically so crisp. But she has struggled, right, against Sam Fairtex and whatnot. So I don't know if she's deserving of a spot. Again, when we announce, we haven't chosen everybody, right? But when we expect to announce the next few weeks. When we announce it, you'll see that everyone who is in that part of that Grand Prix has, either an unbeaten record or, a really big, just a solid record. Maybe losing once. But a lot, you're just gonna see the people, it's a very stacked, that's all I'll say. And whoever wins the World Grand Prix is worthy. I mean, is worthy as a world champion, will definitely not be considered a rising star. Will definitely be considered already one of the best pound for pound female athletes on the planet of any organization, because of just the sheer caliber of talent in that World Grand Prix that you have to run through. It's just
Yeah, I'm so pumped to see it. I'm sure so many people are. Yeah. In that regard, are you not tempted to just start it soon? Like, why wait till 2021?
Just because, like, we once we decided to do the Atomweight Grand, we said, look, let's try to get the very best in the world at Atomweight. We scoured the globe and we started recruiting a few, with great records and just really phenomenal skill set, and who we really believe could end up being not only World Grand Prix champion, potentially world champion as well. And so the thought process was, let's rather than just announce it and go for it, let's make it a really incredible Grand Prix. And that was and so, early January is when it kicks off, and I hope to make an announcement the next couple of weeks. So, the athletes have, 8-week prep time for the opening of the Grand Prix. So yeah, I mean, it's just about quality, right? Could we have done it? Yes, we could have done it with our current roster, but we just said, look, who else is out there around the world that could really make this, again, like I said, bar none, this will be the greatest, potentially not even just Atomweight World Grand Prix, probably the greatest female World Grand Prix ever done. Like, just looking at the caliber of athletes there.
One thing I wanted to ask as well, sorry, just have you ever considered doing like an all-female event? I don't think that's ever been done in MMA, to the best of my knowledge. This seems like the perfect time to do it. You could have the first 4 quarterfinals, and then you could have like Janet Todd defending her kickboxing. It'd be so cool to see something like that.
Man, Nick, you should be doing my job. Good idea. So yes, we were planning to have all the 8 female athletes competing in the same night, and you're right. Maybe we should just throw in a kickboxing or Muay Thai World Championship with a female athlete and make it an all-female card. That's a very interesting idea. As I said, I mean, yeah, I'm gonna call Matt Hume after this.
I can't take credit. My buddy Chris, who does some of the co-hosting on our podcast, he told me to ask you that. So shout out to Chris if he's watching. I think we'll do it. I think we'll do it. I like the way, when you said it, I was like, man, that's a great idea. Oh man, that's so cool. Well, yeah, I can't wait to see that. I just had one other question. Sorry about the women. We spoke to Tiffany as well today, and she says she'd like to see some more strawweights. Have you got any plans to bolster that division too, the way you've really stacked the Atomweight division?
Yes, definitely. That's the thing. Like, if you look at one champion's roster a year ago versus 2 years ago versus 3 years ago versus 4 years ago versus 5 years, if you look at the history of the company, our roster just continues to climb, higher and higher, in terms of quality. And I think you're seeing that. Even the heavyweight division, we're starting to stack the heavyweight division. Again, we've signed some heavyweights. We haven't announced it as well. But suddenly the heavyweight division is really stacked. And so, division by division, we're always upgrading. Obviously, our lightweight division, our featherweight division is ultra stacked. But when I look at the heavyweight and light heavyweight divisions, I say there's a lot of work to do, me being very frank. But do I want to get to the place where our heavyweight division is considered the best in the world? Definitely. You know, I'm always looking out, you know, and there's just so much. I mean, what's shocking is the talent pool all over the world is just, it's so deep. People, you know, there are all these unknowns that you look at them and you're like, my goodness, they weren't lucky enough to get an opportunity, you know, but they are just some real monsters out there. And so we're signing a bunch we haven't announced yet. And obviously we announced Amir Ali Akbari, right? He's a monster, man. The guy is he's an absolute terror. And he was supposed to fight Anatoly, undefeated Russian, also a real beast. But unfortunately, Anatoly got, you know, COVID. So it's just one of these things that I think a week or 2 weeks ago the fight fell through, and we're looking for an opponent on short notice for Amir Ali Akbari. So he's not going to be competing. He'll be on the November show.
So there's another show next month, a live one, right?
Right. There's going to be more shows next month and December as well. Yeah.
And then the Apprentice is coming up as well. When does that start filming?
Monday. So this Monday I go into production, and Apprentice goes into production. And what is crazy, I didn't know what I really signed up for, you know, when I agreed to do the Apprentice, because the first day I have a 12-hour shoot, and I'm like, 12-hour shoot? Like, and this goes for 8 weeks straight. I'm like, how am I going to do my day job? You know, so, but luckily it's not 12 hours every day. You know, some days it's 1 hour, some days it's 6 hours, some days it's 9 hours. It depends on the day. But, you know, Apprentice goes into production for the next 8 weeks straight. And we haven't announced some of the guests as well. So, you know, some big names will be joining. Obviously, we announced DJ and Angela and Brandon Vera will be joining. But there's some other big names we haven't announced that are going to make it fun. So what makes the Apprentice so different from the ones you've seen before is, one, there are both business challenges and athletic challenges. And the athletic challenges are driven by, you know, these world champion martial art athletes coaching the contestants. And there are 16 contestants from around the world, and they're vying for a job to work as my protege, and obviously a salary of $250,000. But it's not just that you got to be good at business, like in the older Apprentice version. You got to be good at. You better be physically very, very fit, but also mentally very, very tough. And that's why we say it's the world's toughest apprentice, because you got to be razor sharp on the business side, but you got to be mentally tough to survive some of these physical challenges. Are just really, really going to push the contestants beyond their limits. I guarantee people are going to be crying and quitting on the show right there because of some of the challenges. And at the same time, you know, I've invited 12 CEOs, mostly of them my friends from the CEO community, who are going to join as guest judges. So, you know, in a way, this Apprentice is like Amazing Race meets, you know, Shark Tank or something like that. And there's a lot of entertainment, obviously a lot of drama, but real business stuff and real martial arts stuff. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, looking forward to it. I guess, yeah, final word then. Inside the Matrix, what can everyone expect from this huge show?
I'm going to make a crazy prediction, but I'm going to predict that all 6 fights are going to end within 2 to 3 rounds. And that's why I said, don't blink. Bring the popcorn, you know, have your friends over, all that stuff, but don't blink, because they're all, when I looked at that card, I'm like, man, I don't see any of these fights going the distance.
All right. The time has flown by again. Better leave you alone now. It's gone past 11. So thanks so much, Chatri, again. Really fun, as always, to talk to you. Love getting your insight on all this stuff, and some new information, which I'm sure everyone's going to be really glad to hear. Yeah, great to chat again, and good luck for the show, man.
Hey, thanks so much, Nick, and I'll catch you later.
Yeah, mate. Cheers. Yeah.